good day. This is my money tree. It's a Malabar chestnut tree. I'll include the scientific name in the description. I kind of forget what that is. But I made one other video with this where I quote unquote rescued it. I just rescued it from my mother-in-law. It was kept in the original ceramic pot. It was actually this pot inside the ceramic pot. The ceramic pot had no drainage, and so my nieces just kept watering it, and were kind of drowning it. So I took it home and took it out of that pot, out of this one, took all the mud out of there. It really had no root ball at all. So I went ahead and just put it back in the same pot here. Before the hurricane, I had it sitting up on top of a pallet. I took it down and I put it inside of the pallet, stacked up cinder blocks on both sides of it, actually had it in there really good and secure, and it moved nowhere. The problem was it was right there in Grand Central Station where a bunch of other stuff blew right up against it. I don't know if how well you guys can see this from that angle there. Let's see if I can show you guys a little bit better. At some point, another pot had blown right up against it there. You can see the bark is all gone there, and something brushed up against it there as well, a little bit there. And so the idea I have had here lately is I just wanted to let it recover. Don't do any pruning or anything. Just go ahead and just let it grow. And, hopefully maybe get a big enough trunk to either overtake that. I mean, it could be an interesting part of the trunk one day. But at the same time, I just wanted to let it grow and heal that up. Every time, it gets any good momentum going, it'll start getting some big leaves out of the top. And then because it's in such a tall, keeps blowing over. And so I keep having to cut off the bigger leaves so it doesn't keep blowing over. And then I just feel like I'm not really letting it recover like I want it to. So I'm going to go ahead and just strictly slip pot it into this thing here. I'll save this video for recovery for another update one day. Just hope that that'll keep it from blowing over some, and maybe I can just let it recover a little bit better. I don't see the need to put it in anything bigger, as it really has no root ball, and I have heard from several people that these things really don't get much of a root spread on them or anything like that. So I'm just going to basically, like I said, slip pot it right on in here. That is it. I just had that one little bit of roots right there. I'll even take those off to the side just a little, because I want to let it grow and not blow over so much. I may not bring the substrate right up to the edge. And there we go, just for the point of getting it in something wider, a little bit more sturdy. Since it did keep blowing over, I was trying to keep it into someplace a little more protected. But I feel like it wasn't getting enough sun there either. And so what I'll do, I'll just hang on to this till it's a little more recovered. Include this in the next update to my rescued money plant. Alright, and that first part of the video is back in January. I even had this shirt on here, my Beavis and Butthead shirt. I repotted in that video, and since then this was actually in the group of plants that I had asked the one group of repair guys if I had moved them far enough out of the way, and they said, oh yeah, you moved them far enough, we'll work around them, we'll respect your plants. This is one of the ones that got stepped on. Actually got unpotted. I was kind of really upset because I want to. Here is the. We just watched, or you guys just watched the beginning of this video where I talk about this scar here. See if I can give you guys a little bit of a better look at that scar. And so there is the scar, and I figure, it might take years and years before that ever really closes all the way out. There's a secondary one there where that rock drug it. Or where it drug along the rock in the hurricane. But I've always just been figuring the more growth up here, the more chance I've got of the trunk getting big enough to go ahead and heal that scar up. And then the other problem that I have with it is, I am going to take this guy off today at least. So let's see here. just the size of these leaves. And once they get this big, and see it in comparison to my hand there, once they get that big, they just really become little parachutes up here. Starting to understand more on why you don't really see these in the wide, deeper pots like that. So it really doesn't throw out all that many roots. I've had it strapped onto my pallet along with some rocks weighing it down, and it's still not really all that tight in the pot. So I think that's why you usually see these in a little more of a vase-like thing. And then, I did just, I'm just going to mention that I've seen a lot of people question, like, oh, I just got these, it was marked as bonsai, but is it really bonsai? I mean, sometimes the question for me is, I even saw somebody that just this morning on a forum saying, like, I got these and now I'm being told that they're not really a bonsai tree. I mean, the definition is, a tree in a tray or whatever, but at the same time, like, what are you ever really going to do with it? I have thought about getting a little bit of wire on these two branches just to get them away from each other some, but even so, the branches are so much like, almost like bamboo, kind of like a succulent. Seems like they could snap right away. And this, I don't want to jeopardize any of the growth because I don't really have all that much growth. Like this one here is another fresh apex type leaf right there. It looks nice and tame now, but I can just tell by the long stem on there and everything, that'll get every big as this within like another week or two. And sometimes even with it being strapped to the bench like I have and the rocks weighing it down, you can just see it out there, when a thunderstorm comes, just whipping around. So while I had it in here, I just figured I'd take some of those really bigger leaves off. So I don't really want to argue with anybody on whether it's a bonsai tree or not and everything. I don't really care what you call it. But the other myth I'd like to kind of take out there is these are also sold as a lot as house plants. And guys, I keep this out in the full Florida sun. It gets at least where it is right now. It gets at least probably 10 hours a day. Maybe not so much once once it becomes a little more towards later July and August. But right now it is in the spot where it gets the most sun in my yard, and it does just fine. And you just see a lot of the advice that says, keep them out of direct light, and they need to be in bright light, light from the edge of a window only. These can be right in the direct sun, and you guys know I do live in South Florida, and it does just fine. So have it outside in the winter when you can. Of course, it is a tropical. You want to protect it from freezing. But again, if you want the most growth out of it and the healthiest tree possible, it does need full sunlight.